All right, guys, welcome to your first online lecture. Don't worry, it's weird for me too, so as long as I don't have to hear myself, it's okay. Anyway, we're going to start chapter 11 today. This lecture will cover sections 1 and 2, and then I'm going to post an assignment for you guys, so make sure you're looking at all the posts for today, okay? All right, so if you kind of follow along in the book with me, you should be taking notes as well. I'll go through this stuff, but you should still be writing it down. We're going to talk about fresh water, drinking water specifically. There's lots of different characteristics that can affect the quality of water. Okay, the first one is the appearance. Does it look drinkable? Sometimes water's cloudy, sometimes it's dirty. The look of it is important. Taste, obviously. You can compare different tap waters and they'll taste different. It doesn't mean they're bad, but you can detect a little bit of a taste. Acidity, you guys are familiar with this now. The pH of the water should be close to 7. It should be neutral. Hardness, that's a description of mineral count in the water. Some people have water softeners to reduce that count. Hard water leaves water spots. It feels a little different. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just a description. Microorganisms, you definitely don't want bacteria in your water, so that's something to watch for. And then we have this agency, this government agency, the EPA, who is in charge of determining the appropriate levels. Believe it or not, there actually is a level of bacteria that is acceptable to be in water. They just check to make sure that it's not too high. And actually, if you look at figure 2 in the book on page 336, it's going to show you some different levels of things that you wouldn't expect to be in your water, like cyanide, which is a poison, but it's such small amounts that it's harmless. Okay. All right. I also want you to follow along in your books. Let's see here. Let me get my pen going. Oops, not highlighter. Pen. This is, what is this? Page 337. Okay, kind of follow along. This is the treatment of drinking water. Now, you're going to see there's two different treatments we're talking about in this chapter. Treatment of drinking water and the treatment of wastewater. Wastewater that's like bathroom water. That doesn't get treated to the level that you can actually drink it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But drinking water, the stuff that comes out of the tap that you can safely drink, it's not always ready for that. And so it does have to go through some treatment before we can safely drink it. Okay. Step 1 is the first filtration, and that's just when the big stuff's taken out. Sometimes this water's coming from a reservoir. There might be fish in it. There might be leaves. So some of the big particles need to be taken out first. Then it goes through this process called coagulation. I actually have a video that I'm going to show you. It's a Mark Rober video, and he explains coagulation really well. But it's a chemical process that these flocks are made, and I'm going to define that later. And they're these sticky clumps, and it gets the mud and the bacteria all to stick together, and it sinks down to the bottom of this tank. Okay. Step 3 is a second filtration. This filtration is much smaller, though. The water actually goes through like a sand or a gravel bed. And there might be bacteria in it, and it's good bacteria that helps eat the bad bacteria. Anyway, it's just another filtration to get even smaller stuff out. Chlorination. Chlorine is added, actually, to kill some additional bacteria. Not as necessarily as much as like a swimming pool, but definitely some chlorine is added. It doesn't stay there, though. Step 5 is aeration. Air bubbles are added, and it helps release some of that chlorine gas. And it just helps make the water taste better and smell better. And then the last step is any optional additional treatment. A lot of city tap waters have fluoride added to them. It's good for your teeth. There might be some other things like that water softening process that I talked about earlier, taking the mineral count down a little bit. So that's not always something that happens, but that additional treatment varies for location. Okay. All right, now this is the wastewater, and this is page 340. Page 340 in your book, so you can kind of follow along on that. It's just a little photo of it. It's not a very good picture, but there's only 3 steps for this. And again, this is what's considered the sewer water. This is what comes from the toilets. This is also like when the sinks drain and things like that, it all kind of gets mixed into the same place. Okay. So we have our primary treatment. There's only 3 steps for this. There's primary treatment, and that's when the solid material settles to the bottom. And yes, that solid material is largely what you're thinking it is. Second treatment, it gets filtered through a sand bed or a gravel bed with bacteria, very similar to the second filtration of the drinking water. And then that's really it. Once it's filtered through, oftentimes the water will go into a large evaporation tank. Now, this water is not safe for drinking at this point, but if it evaporates, that water goes back into the water cycle, and then it will be good for us, okay? Or it might be chlorinated at that point, okay? So here's just some additional vocab for you guys. This guy right here, let me change my pen color. This is something you might see at golf courses or parks. Sometimes there's water faucets and it'll say non-potable water. That's the water like from this, okay? So it's clean enough to irrigate with, but it's not necessarily clean enough to drink. Parks and golf courses will use this, like I said, for irrigation. But if you see a sign like that, don't drink the water. It's still not up to standard for drinking. Okay? You can pause this video and go ahead and write down the rest of that vocab right now. We've got flocks, we've got sewage, and we've got sludge. And that's pretty much it for section 1. Moving on to section 2, we get into water conservation. Okay? You know, it's funny, there's a run at the grocery store right now for things like toilet paper and water. Fortunately, our water's not going to get shut off. We have plenty of water, but it makes us think, you know, what could we be doing to save our water? So, again, I want you to pause the video, and I want you to read that diagram, because there's a lot of really good tips on what you can be doing to use a little less water at home. Think about the length of your showers. That uses a lot of water really quickly. Fortunately, with all this rain, we don't really have to worry about drought. We're getting plenty of precipitation, but we still just want to be responsible with our water usage, okay? And that is really all for the chapter. I've got 2 videos for you guys to watch, though, that talk about water conservation and treatment of water, all right?